some of you that are just coming in, if you have a word about how you're feeling today, just add it to our chat and let us see how things are going for you today.
If we can't use the QR to sign in.
Okay.
There's a link in the agenda.
Later. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, since we're going to get started now, just want to go over some logistics with you and agreements for how we will operate today. Many of these you are familiar with because you all have had, as you said, you have had lots of Zoom going on. And we want to have a safe and collaborative space to ensure your understanding of this project. We'd like you to stay on the camera, but it's optional. And just to let you know that the session will be recorded as a future resource. And please keep your mute on. I think we all know that now, that mute has to be off so that we can all hear well and know what's going on. And always feel free to use the chat function so that if you have questions or comments, we will be pleased to address them when we get time within the session. And if there's any unanswered questions today, we can answer them by email following the session, and we'll be more than happy to do that. So now we're going to set the stage for what we thought was going to start a few minutes ago. And I'm going to introduce to you someone you probably know already. And that, I didn't introduce myself, and I'm Donna Weissman. I'm from the University of Maryland, College Park. And one of the collaborators on this project with me, and you are going to meet several of them today, is Lisa Spencer from your own Prince George's County Public Schools. So I'm going to let her get started to help us set the stage for what we're doing today.
Good afternoon, and thank you guys for joining us. I just want to welcome you again, and I am so thankful that you decided to join us. Just to give you some background, this whole concept started from Dr. Golston. First, she had the request that we get staff members that we can help build up their skill set in the school buildings, so that teachers had someone who was skilled and able to better support them as they went through this journey of digital learning, but also this whole virtual world that we are now finding ourselves in. Her request was that we actually build something or build a program so that we can get staff members in every school that we can help with facilitating building their skill set and their capacity to support their colleagues. So hence our ETLs. As a result of getting our ETLs in place, she also had a conversation, she meaning Dr. Golston, had a conversation with Dr. Eubanks, and you guys may recognize his name as our former board chair. Along that conversation came out the request to develop a program that we could help build skill sets of our ETLs and other staff members who are better prepared and equipped with skills able to better support their colleagues. So as we're in this digital environment, it's not going away. We are here to stay, and we want to do whatever we can to build the capacity of you as our subject matter experts that are going to be in the building. And that's not necessarily based on content, but being able to support your colleagues in this digital environment. So as a result, myself, along with Kim and Monica, joined the UMD team with Donna and her teammates to start discussing how can we best build a program that's going to support you in a way that is going to build your skill set in terms of strategies that you as an educator would be better able to hone your craft, as well as support your colleagues and help build their skill set. So with that in mind, taking the information that you've gathered in your ETL meetings and from your surveys, as well as just the comments that you had shared with us or that you've shared in terms of what are your teachers struggling with during this digital environment? So taking all of that information in mind, what we decided to do, we discussed it, we hammered it out, and we went back and forth. And as a result, this is the program that we came up with. And we feel that this program will help equip you with new strategies or help build your strategies, as well as strengthen your ability to be able to utilize those strategies. But as we got into education, we wanted to help others learn. This would also give you that opportunity to impact your colleagues and their growth. So I hope that you will find this as a program that strengthens your professional learning and your skill set, as well as being able to strengthen those skill set of those around you so that we can truly impact our students in their learning. I think that you'll start to learn those strategies now. The thing is, when you get into a program, you get out of it what you put into it. So I'm hoping that you will do whatever it is that you need to do. And if you need help, hey, we're just a phone call or an email away. Call us, email us. We're here to help and support you in any way that we can. So again, this is at the request of Dr. Golson, and we appreciate you taking the charge. And she's willing to support you. So that's why we're here. So just let us know and take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, because if I was still in that classroom, I definitely would do that, because I too am a lifelong learner, as I know that you are. So have fun with this. And thank you.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. So as a result of what Lisa was talking about, the Remote Teaching Excellence, RTE, has kind of evolved. The other partner that we have, in addition to the University of Maryland and Prince George's County Public Schools, is Morgan State is involved, and you'll be seeing more of that too. So what does it mean to participate in RTE? Because part of what we're doing today is giving you an invitation to do that. We have set up 6 sessions that will end in June. And you can see here the dates, approximately about once a month at the beginning of the month. And each with topics that you all have indicated that are very important to you. And as we begin to work with you more and hear what your concerns are, we will adapt these topics to more and more to what are your concerns and what you are thinking about. With each of the sessions, there will be some asynchronous assignments, short, but ones that we think will help you think through what we talked about at the session, and also give you some time to do some reflection. Now, this is where the sessions are different. We wanted to go beyond what normal professional, or not normal, but we wanted to give all of you an opportunity to talk to each other and learn from each other and experience and share your experiences. So we are setting up in the next session in February, a community of practice where you will be placed in very small groups with groups of teachers who share your same interests, to have discussions face-to-face in small group sessions. So this is we will talk more about this as the evening goes on. But this is one thing that we really think is the core and the heart of this project. And additionally, there will be continuing education units granted by the University of Maryland, 1 to 2, depending on the time that you spend in this, and you'll also receive a certificate. So the other thing that happens when you work with the university is that we really like to have nice, strong program development so that we can be data-based as we go forward and as we make decisions about the program and find out what you're learning. And we have 2 people who are going to be helping us with the assessment and the program evaluation. And I want to introduce you to Dr. Virginia Byrne from Morgan State University and Dr. Diane Kettlehut from the University of Maryland, who will talk to you a little bit about this pre-assessment that we will do tonight.
Hi all, I'm Diane Kettlehut. I'm at the University of Maryland, and I'm thrilled to see how many of you are here. I've been enjoying watching your chats. I can sympathize with a lot of the words I'm seeing in that chat line, from anywhere from excited to tired, because I think nowadays we seem to have those emotions simultaneously. What Dr. Byrne and I are doing is that we are conducting a study of this program that you are participating in to better understand your remote online teaching experiences, and as part of this, an evaluation of the program's efficacy, which was requested by the Prince George's County Public Schools. And we're really hoping that you're going to be willing to participate in this piece of it, the evaluation piece of it, so that we can help improve it and move forward with it. So we are recruiting all educators, all of you who've moved their classrooms online. Doesn't matter what grade level, any discipline, any teaching role. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Byrne to give you some more details about the information on that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Virginia Byrne. I'm coming in from Morgan State University. I'm so thrilled to see so many wonderful Morgan current and alum folks here. Do you mind if we stop sharing screen as we launch into the survey part? So as Diane just talked about, we're asking you to do a pre-test survey right now. And I see some of you are already taking it, which is wild. Thank you. I'm going to put the link in the chat, and I'm going to talk about what we're expecting there. So to better understand both your experience in teaching online and your experience in this program, we're going to be doing a few things, right? We're asking you to complete these surveys. We're going to be recording these Zoom sessions, as you see. And then at the end, over the summer, we're going to ask a few of you to meet with us for a focus group session. And so the way we get that ball moving is with this pre-test survey. So it starts with a consent form that I hope you take a minute to read and complete. But just know that your input in that survey and what you tell us, Diane and I, stays with us, Diane and I, right? So we are keeping your information and your thoughts confidential. And while we will report to the rest of the team and to the Prince George's folks your attendance and your completion of the program, your unique thoughts and experiences stay with us. And that matters a lot to me. And if you have any questions, that's what we're here to answer, either in the chat privately, in the chat publicly. And yes, I'm really hoping that network facilitators take this survey as well, because we want to know about your experience too. Diane, anything I missed out as they launch into that survey?
No, I just want to underscore the confidentiality aspect of this. And just so that you know that this is, we're evaluators. So what we're doing is trying to figure out how well this program is working, what aspects of it work better, and we'll be looking at the data along the way, so we might actually be able to make some changes along the way based on some of the things as we get feedback. But the feedback we give is all going to be anonymized. It's going to be collated into groups, and so you don't have to worry that there's any issue with what you might say to us and getting it to anybody else. So we see ourselves as separate.
Yeah, so now we're going to take a pause, right? So stay on the Zoom. But there's always that weird thing of when you're trying to do something on the Zoom, but your camera's on and you're like, your nostrils are like really close to the camera. So feel free to turn off your camera. I'm going to turn on my timer for 10 minutes and we're going to take this survey. Yeah, so thank you for giving us this information, giving us this time. The survey is still open. If you have not had a chance to finish it, we would love for you to do that later. And just thank you so much. And please let Diane and I know if you have any questions.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. And yeah, we need to give Ebony some time now, but hopefully there'll be time later on in this session or afterwards that you can finish the survey. So thanks, appreciate it.
Ready to introduce to you the next person on our agenda, which is Dr. Ebony Terrell Shockley. Many of you will know her because she started her career right there in Prince George's County. She is one busy lady, and in fact, she's so busy that she's got several things going on this evening. And she studied she got her degree in biology undergraduate degree in biology and graduate degrees in curriculum and instruction, reading, instructional technology and leadership, and minority and urban ed were her graduate level focus. And she is interested and does research in culturally and linguistic marginalized and underrepresented learners in STEM, literacy, and exceptional education. And Ebony's done an incredible amount of international work in addition to all her busy work that she does here. And she's especially spent a lot of time in Cuba. She is the author, and I think a very proud author, of a children's book called Pilot, that encourages the reader to consider stereotypical portrayals of women in STEM. So she's really interested in how women's roles and kind of embeds that in many things that she does. Lately, she has been really focusing on an array. She has a wide array of professional interests, and she's just been appointed to really be in charge of all the teacher education programs at the University of Maryland, which really is a very, very big job. And in addition to all of this, with all her other interests, she is so interested in focusing on integrating technology into teaching and becoming an excellent teacher when you use the integrated and strategies that are so familiar to many of you and that we're all learning together as we venture into this online environment. And so, Ebony, I'm going to turn it over to you now. And I will tell you, she does have to teach a class tonight. So I'll let her frame you for what she's going to talk about.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, it's actually an emergency teach. We had an instructor who is unable to start her first class. So I am leading the way for those students really soon. I am honored to join not only the University of Maryland family, the Morgan State Bears family, but certainly my Prince George's Education family. My name is Ebony Shockley, as Donna Wiseman shared, and I plan to share a few points of information just to really advance the conversations that you've certainly been having on virtual instruction, and specifically the ways in which your pedagogies are reflexive, inclusive, and differentiated. So let me see if I can share my screen. Yes. Okay. So I've organized what I want to share tonight as an interactive syllabus. One, because I always like to model opportunities for educators. And I'm using a Web 2.0 tool, but certainly you can use and create interactive syllabi in Microsoft Word just as well. And you may already do that in your classroom. So I want to, there's my Apple, Forever a Teacher, with all of my word art there. If you don't have the link, should I go ahead and drop it in the chat again for folks, maybe, if they don't have the link to this?
It's in the agenda.
Okay, all right. So you can access it from the agenda and you can click throughout. So I want to get us started just thinking about the standards, because as educators, standards govern our content. And of course, we have the International Society for Technology Educator Standards, which cover learners, leaders, citizens, collaborators, designers, facilitators, and analysts. And these are the tenets that really frame our Maryland standards here. And again, if you can click throughout, and if you're using or if you're sharing this, it is also accessible for a screen reader. I want to start and I want to focus on this Maryland Digital Learning Standards for Educators, Empowered Professional Standard 1 on the learner. And it reads, educators continually improve their practice by learning from and with others and exploring evidence-based practices that leverage technology to improve student learning. And that educators set professional learning goals to explore and apply pedagogical approaches made possible by technology, reflect on the effectiveness and implementation, which is going to be big in what I'll talk about. And then pursuing professional interests, which you are already doing by actively participating in a learning community, and then staying current with the research that informs teaching that supports student achievement. And so that's exactly where we'll go, talk about the research and how we can remain rooted in research and practice. So there is an opportunity in the future that will afford discussions around culturally responsive teaching. But because all of my work is very much involved in race and class and underrepresented groups, it's critical, at least for me, when I think about the lenses that shape the work that I'll share. And I also want you to think about, as an educator, where your commitments lie in terms of your students, your positions, what you're bringing in terms of your background to the classroom. So I have here 3 resources that I will move through quickly just to talk to you about. Culturally Responsive Teaching by Geneva Gay. And culturally responsive teaching has some core tenets of care and community. And so you can certainly look into this as a resource if you haven't already. Also, Funds of Knowledge. Funds of Knowledge is work done by cultural anthropologists, Gonzalez and Mall and Amonte. They started the work probably like in 2002, but that work continues and to be cited by many scholars. And they went into Spanish-speaking households to really talk about and learn about those ideas, those traditions, those habits of mind taking place in Spanish-speaking homes. So one thing I didn't say about me in my Apple is my background is also ESOL. So I taught science and ESOL, and I was also a reading specialist before joining the incomparable technology training team, where I had the chance to work with so many schools, elementary, middle, and high school. So I wanted to let you know why I talk a lot about language and literacy. And then this other theory that I think is important is connectivism. Connectivism is kind of understudied, and I wish it were more at the forefront of theories. And the reason I think it's important is because it draws upon all of the foundational theories that you would learn in a typical teacher education program, like behaviorism or constructivism. It is a learning theory recognizing knowledge as a network and defines knowledge as inclusive of the Vygotskian zone of proximal development work, which is very much connected to the Institute for Education Sciences research on differentiation, which is the core of what I'll talk to you about tonight. Okay, so the other thing about connectivism, which I think is important, is it centralizes technology as a resource and a network. And given the role that networks play in acquiring knowledge in virtual settings, it's a lens that I hope that you will consider and that you understand. Moving to a few others, and I can make this bigger, but you have access to it. So I can just kind of zoom in like that. So you are familiar with thinking of theories and reflecting on our practice and how we're going to think about our learners and move them forward to meet our objectives. You have worked with PICRAT, I believe, before. The PIC, the Passive Interactive Creative, refers to the student's relationships to a technology. And then the RAT, which is the Replacement, Amplification, and Transformation, describes the impact of the technology. So later on, with this interactive syllabus, you can go in and look at some resources just by clicking the link that I have for you there. So one of the things I really want as a takeaway is for you to think about how you are engaging your learners, building relationships with your learners, with the different technology that you are using in your classroom, as well as the different orientations and theories that I presented in the beginning of this syllabus. Something else that I want to talk to you about is Tpack, and Tpack is here. And actually, some of the research on PICRAT criticizes Tpack, which is a good thing. You always want to know, well, what is the good stuff and what is the bad stuff and what's interesting and how should you use it? So why am I talking about Tpack? Because I want us to think about, let's see if I want us to think about the components of Tpack, which are CK, which is content knowledge, PK, which is pedagogical knowledge, and TK, which is technological knowledge. These all interact with each other and produce overlapping components. But the point is, or what I want you to think about, is when you're reviewing your plans and you're writing your plans and you think about your skill set, which of these components do you feel you have the most expertise? In which do you feel you have the most expertise? And then in what ways do you feel like you want to grow and learn? Is it your content knowledge that you want to build? And if you're teaching elementary, you have lots of content knowledge across different disciplines. Or is it if you're in secondary, then you have a much more focused content knowledge. Is it your pedagogical knowledge? Is it the way you teach? Or is it your technological knowledge, the ways that you engage with digital resources? So that's a reason for having this in your interactive syllabus for our discussion. Also, I think it's really important to think about this other framework called mirrors and windows, and that's right here. I will make it bigger. Mirrors and windows is actually been reintroduced by Emily Stile for the National Seed Project. A mirror is a story that reflects your own culture and helps build identity. So think about your students and think about what mirrors you have in terms of images, in terms of dialect, in terms of language, in terms of textbooks. Do you have in your classroom that reflects your students? And then a window, which is a resource that offers you a view into someone else's experience, which is important. So it's important because mirrors and windows, the theorists maintain that your classroom should reflect the diversity of our changing world. So there should be linguistic diversity, there should be racial and ethnic diversity, and that's the idea. And the reason that I'm capturing Dr. Sims' work here is because when she first started doing work on mirrors and windows, it did not gain lots of traction in the 1990s. And now even the National Council for Teachers of English is picking this up and applying it to a lot of their resources. So I think it's important for us to know. So I am going to stop sharing just for a second so I can take you just outside of you have access to these slides, just outside of the interactive syllabus to share screen again, to some slides. So the good thing about an interactive syllabus, you can orient yourself both horizontally and vertically. And that's Dr. Rudin Bishop in her work on mirrors and windows. So I will keep going. Mirrors and windows, here are some examples of why it's important, just to problematize it a little bit. In 2015, you can see how the text, the low numbers of text for underrepresented groups. You can look at how different groups compared to animals. For example, there were more images about animals, a percentage in this work by the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And then in 2018, you can see a little bit. So for example, American Indian and First Nations groups went from 0.9% to 1%. It's not a lot. So we're hoping that you understand as you are making your text selection and assigning text and media for your learners in virtual spaces, ebooks, et cetera, and the avatars that are available to you, that you are considering mirrors and windows. In addition to phenotypic differences, you'll notice that another set of books explored in 2017. If you look at this upper, I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but only 2 of the texts starred a disabled character out of 3,700. And so when you think about exceptional learners and inclusive pedagogies, certainly critical to, again, just think about mirrors and windows. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna link back to I'm gonna just stop sharing. I'm gonna link back to the syllabus, but on your slides, it'll link you back. All righty, let's go to share again. All right, here we go. Okay, let's move it along. So in addition to these components in the domain of differentiated instruction, I want to talk to you about personalized learning. So mirrors and windows personalizes learning, and that's what a lot of those slides that I just shared highlight, how you personalize students' learning. Why am I talking about personalized learning? Because I have the opportunity to observe multiple classrooms around the state of Maryland virtually this fall. I haven't observed any in January, but yes, students have their cameras off, and yes, all students don't participate. So what does the literature say, and what have I observed as levers for having students motivated and engaged? And that is personalized instruction, and that is in the center of the differentiated instruction literature. I want to talk just briefly about personalizing digital spaces in the, we call it the What Works Clearinghouse. It's again from the Institute of Education Sciences, and there are all these data that they look at, and they examine basically where do you see change in student outcomes. And getting to know learners and instructor-student relationships was at the highest. It was called promising. It was like the most, it was the highest clearance, highest rating, I should say it that way. So really thinking about how you're going to connect with your learners. I'm going to show you in about 1.5 minutes, some examples, especially given the feedback. Kim, I have you covered. I know what we talked about. And so I have one of my book chapters here on employing culturally relevant pedagogy in middle level in virtual classrooms, but I really want you to think about how we're going to get to know our learners. If you're teaching secondary, your learners may change in a couple weeks as the semester shifts. There are multiple literacies, seeing them from an asset-based perspective in a virtual space. And how are we going to make those connections? Well, let me provide some examples. Okay, so in the book chapter, you saw an avatar, a different avatar. I tried for this to create an avatar that I thought looked like me. It kind of really doesn't, but I think it's okay. What do you want to do with your students? Well, you want them to create their own avatars, just like I did. Why? It's multisensory. It gets at the pick rat that you're going to talk through throughout these sessions. You can advance your technological knowledge. You can learn from your students. They can advance their technological knowledge, and you can access and create avatars on all kinds of free resources. Now, you want to make sure that whatever you use is approved by Prince George's County Public Schools. Yes, you do. And I'm going to just show you really briefly one avatar. In fact, I'm going to show you how I made it. Hold on. Okay, don't I have another Google? Okay, sorry. 1 second. This is what happens when you are trying to move quickly. 1 second, let me pull up the right window for us. Okay. Oh, here we go. All right, so I'm gonna play it. Let me share my screen again. I think somebody raised their hand, bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to just play it for you. And sometimes when it's more than 100 or so people, I call myself a Zoomologist. Those of us who are Zoomologists, that's anybody who's been in more than 10 Zooms, which is probably everybody here. There's a delay, but I will try to see if there's a lag. Let's see if you can hear it.
Today, we are going to work on our main ideas. You are going to read an article from New Zealand, and that article will cover a topic of importance for our class. Please read the article and create your avatar with your main idea, summary, answer, or paragraph.
Okay, so that is just a way to get students engaged. You can create an avatar, or they can sort of introducing your topic. As an ESOL teacher, objectives are really important. So we had we used the sheltered instruction observation protocol, which requires a content objective and a language objective to make sure students can access the text. And so reading, writing, speaking, listening, all of the domains of language go into presenting that objective. So there's a reiteration of objectives. And so if that was an example for you, my colleague, Dr. Shelton, I adapted this from some work that she shared with us in December. So let's just look at this really quickly. So I use New Zealand, okay? Why? Because I only believe in free resources, and because it will give you the levels of text. Now, you probably use New Zealand already, and that's fantastic. Well, here is how you want to use it in a virtual differentiated space. I used a social studies example because I wanted to get at our content area. Teachers, I also tried to make it sort of civic oriented. I also adopted something that I thought would be culturally relevant because it is timely, and it's about voting. Okay, so here, 3 groups, all stars, superstars, shining stars. I usually use bright stars, superstars, shining stars, but that's okay. In our all stars group, you see the reading level here. So let me just show you here. If you're going to write a main idea for the following paragraph in your digital double entry journals. So they would read the Newsela paragraph, and then they would write a main idea, what they think is the main idea, in their digital double entry journals. Well, what in the world is a digital double entry journal? Well, you can do this in Padlet, which I know the district uses. You can do this in Microsoft Word. Double entry means that more than one person is making entries. So on the left side of your screen, you have your entry, and on the right side, you have someone commenting. You can do this, of course, in Google Classroom through Google Docs, and that second person can be a teacher or facilitator, or it can be another student. So let's look at what the All-Stars have. In most places in the United States, the voting age is 18. In Massachusetts, they want to lower it. Efforts to lower the voting age are not new. Big changes may be coming soon. First, though, the bills have to make it through the State House. So that's the 640. Okay, that's where we are. Then you have the superstar. So basically, there are 3 steps in differentiation: content, process, product. Okay, and based on the literature, tons and tons of literature. And so this is how you would take a content example, and you would modify the content for your learners based on the data that you have. Okay.
Excuse me. Do you mind sharing your screen?
Oh, you can't see the screen?
No, we aren't seeing your screen right now.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Okay, I didn't. I was like,
you
maybe
go.
I'm missing that.
Oh,
See
thank
now?
you.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we can see.
Reading into the universe. Thank you. So let me just pause. You also reading specialist, just pause, give some time.
She was sharing her screen. You have to, when you change screens, you have to tell it to. You have to go to share and then change it. That's all that happened.
And that's why I kept stop sharing each time, because that was my way that I didn't this time. Okay, so sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you for unmuting yourself, because I would have been going on and on and on. Okay, so here, for those people who believe in learning styles, I'm one of them. Visual learners, here you are. Okay, so you can see the 3 groups, and you can see that the length of the content varies. And this is where you would differentiate content by levels. I'm gonna keep going quickly because I know we have a lot to do. So there you go. Okay. In terms of the process, so you would, for example, the teacher could reteach the main idea for the All-Stars, okay? And then the students and the teacher would identify the main idea of paragraph 1. And this is while the superstars and the shining stars are working in pairs to identify the main ideas in paragraphs 1 and 2. And it really all depends on their reading level. It could also depend on their interests. You could do this as interest-based groups. So this tiered instruction can vary based on skill or interest based on the literature. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going with all stars. So the teacher could reteach the main idea statement from the whole group that she presented, he, she, they presented. This is the all-star, so the students and teacher identify the main idea of paragraph 1 together. Then the students facilitate. The teacher stops talking. That's hard for us to do. We stop talking. And then the students facilitate the paragraph with supervision. And then the students on their own identify the main idea of paragraph 3. They can turn off their cameras, mute, etc. And the teacher can hop into the superstars or the shining stars groups. And this is based on one teacher, because I don't assume that people had more than one teacher or have access to that. I'm going to give you a quick math example, and then I'm going to pass the torch. Okay, so for math, you could do an avatar, whatever you want. Can you still see? Okay, so for mathematics, again, thinking of the culturally reflexive connection. Reflexive means you've invited the student voice. It's not just responsive, it's reflexive. You can link it to cooking, you can link it to careers, you can link it to the solar system, because we're gonna be talking about fractions. And I linked it to food because I'm a foodie. So that's my personal bias seeping through. Okay, so really quickly, and I'll make sure I send this to you and make sure it's linked to the document. All stars. So the teacher connects content to careers. Like I mentioned, teacher reviews what fractions are and compares fractions. It's just a reiteration. So you notice that the literacy example was more secondary and this is more elementary. teacher models how to add fractions using virtual manipulatives. And I have a link at the bottom for virtual manipulatives, okay? Because we want to think about, again, that our different forms of knowledge and advancing our technological knowledge. And then for the superstars, connecting the content to careers again, and then modeling how to add using images and the students. So in the all-star group, the teacher reviews only addition. In the superstars, the teacher is modeling adding fractions and subtracting. And then in the shining stars, the teacher is modeling both adding fractions, but the students draw the corresponding images, and they can do that in Google with no problem. So that's the content. Let's look at the process and then the product and then, okay, so here we go. So what you can do, and this is practice. The practice can be the teachers and the students together. So this is our practice. The all-stars are practicing adding fractions using virtual manipulatives. The superstars doing adding and subtracting using virtual manipulatives. And the shining stars are not just adding and subtracting, but they're also drawing representative images. So again, that's that tiered content instruction. And this is, I'm condensing this because I'm going to stop in like 45 seconds. I know I keep saying that because but if I have more time, I would talk more, but feel free to reach out and I can talk to you more about virtual differentiated instruction for math and science. And what do we mean by product? Because we said content, process, and product, how to teach the content, the process by which students work toward content mastery, and the learning. And the product, yeah, so that's it. I don't want to keep going. Here is what we mean by product. So how are you assessing them? What product are they producing? So the all-stars, remember, this is about the voting age. So they would write a main idea for the next paragraph, but then on the paragraph that you gave them in your teacher-led groups, you could ask a question to make sure, well, which of the following is similar to the main idea of the paragraph in your journal? So they've written in their double entry journal, and you want to know which one of these is most similar. So that's a higher level skill than just circle the right answer. So you could tier that. Superstars will be writing a main idea for each paragraph in the passage, and then the shining stars would write a main idea for every paragraph in the passage in their journals. And everybody would then summarize their passage in a video, just like the one here. Because that's the technology. That is the digital component that we continue to speak of. Okay, so I believe that you are also going to have some breakout groups. I'm not quite sure. I will pass the torch, but I will share that at the bottom of your interactive syllabus, which again, you can make in Microsoft Word. I always try to share accessible resources. And I usually just give this to the students. Remember, you got this. That's there for a reason as well. Thank you so much. In every language I could find, and my information is there. And then here's some question stems, and I will let the facilitators take it away from here.
All right, thank you. And yes, thank you very much. Now you have to go teach another class, am I right? Or else we would keep you here and talk. I will ask you, if you have just a second, I saw several questions in the chat about how, this one seemed to come up and there was quite a good discussion.
I have somebody starting the class for me, so I have like 2 more minutes.
Okay, 2 more minutes. Okay, and so people were wondering how you would work with two students while you had others to deal with. So there were several really good suggestions in the chat, but I'd like you to respond to that too.
Mm-hmm. So if you have just 2 students, is the question, and feel free to unmute yourself, whoever you are, is the 2 students the only students who are emerging in the class in terms of the goal, or can you rephrase that for me? Repeat that for me?
I really meant it like more about collaboration. Like, how would you have students, not even just 2, more than 1 student, collaborate away from a teacher?
Yeah. Thank you, Glenna. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, good job.
Okay, thank you. I aim to please. Okay, so you have to model it no matter what. In elementary, middle, high, and college, you have to model it. So I imagine that Donna is, going to be paired with me, and I would model for it. So class, I'm going to show you exactly what you're going to do during these 15 minutes. I don't do more than 15. Sometimes I don't do more than 10. I'm going to, and it's really reciprocal teaching that can happen during that time. One student can be the teacher and the other student can be the student, and vice versa. That reciprocal teaching action. So I would then, let's use the main idea example. I would read maybe the first paragraph and the other student would read the next paragraph, or I would read the paragraph and I would say what I think the main idea is, or Donna could read and tell me what she thinks the main idea is. And we would document that answer together. So it's like in the reading literature, it's like it's sharing the pen, interactive writing. So like we're both sharing the same document, or you could do that independently in the blue group all the way at the end of the screen. But if you want to work with pairs, model exactly what you want them to do as a whole group. And I do that with reciprocal teaching. I do it by modeling what I want to read, depending on the level. If they're early learners, I might do a sentence. If they're older, I'll read the paragraph and I'll say, okay, I want you to tell me the main idea, or I'll let them read and I'll tell them the main idea. And I'll say, this is what I want you to do in your groups of 2. Glenna, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think my other curiosities are more in depth. It's like kind of the restrictions, like we can't use breakout rooms, can't do this. Like literally, how would the students discuss with each other, especially when some don't have language skills?
Yes. Okay, so, I want to go. Glenna, do you have my email address? I don't know if this is for the larger group. I'm going to drop it in the chat real quick again.
All right.
Okay, and then it would be my pleasure to follow up with you because this is so my thing. I love talking about this. You got it in the chat?
This is really important anyway. Ebony, we need to have you come back and continue that discussion, because I see a lot of this is how do you do that whenever we can't have unsupervised breakout rooms and so forth. And I think that would be a good topic for us to talk about sometime.
I'm going to jump in just a bit because I see that there's conversation happening in the chat. So I do want to say this out loud for those people who aren't following.
There are breakout rooms.
After break, you should have received a memo from Dr. Coley and Dr. White. There were some reminders about virtual learning, and within that, it included information about breakout rooms. So on that guidance, it did say that students could be in breakout rooms up to 5 minutes, we would say, without a teacher being present. But I saw in chat that somebody gave a really good suggestion. You could have some students working with independent work at one point, put some students in the waiting room while you're working with a particular group. So I'm just repeating what other colleagues have mentioned in chat, but I did want to point that out.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you.
I know you need to go teach, and we need to move on. And so thank you so much, Ebony. We really appreciate it. And I can see lots of thank yous on the chat. And you gave us lots of good ideas and really some more things to think about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I heart you, PGCPS. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Yes.
Normally at this point, we would break into small affinity groups, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. But today, because as you see, we were having a few technical difficulties, we weren't able to do that. But I do want to talk to you about this, because what our idea is about with these sessions is to have someone as knowledgeable and enthusiastic as Ebony come and talk to us each time, and then afterwards follow up with mostly spending time talking to each other, just like you're doing on the chat. Only we would put you in small groups where you can discuss easily, and you will have someone there to facilitate your conversation. So let's go on to the next slide here. I don't know who's guiding my slides now. So what we will do, because in the future when we meet in these sessions, and I'd love to encourage all of you, there have been several of you who have already signed up for the 6 sessions, and I'd like to encourage more of you to do that if possible. And because what we want to do in these small groups is to share knowledge and really talk about some of your innovation, and engage in shared problem solving. Just like you were doing tonight on chat, whenever Ebony gave you that idea, you were thinking, how do you do that in our current situation? And I saw a lot of good suggestions in the chat. And then you understand the strength, your own strengths. We really want to feature on what you know and what you've been doing this now. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we've been learning how to do this for nearly a year. So many of you have really developed some good knowledge, some really great skills that we really think it's time to share with others. But we also know that there's some things that we all need to keep learning, and that's what we can do together. And we need to celebrate. Boy, do we need to celebrate. I think that's one of the most important things that we need to do, is to recognize what we're doing well in our classroom and what is working. Mainly, these small affinity groups that we're talking about will give us time to reflect on our practice and learn from each other. I'm getting a lot of I think I'm reading as I'm talking, but I think there's some questions about how to get into these groups, and I'll let Kim answer that in just a bit. Okay, let's go on to the next slide, please. So just to let you know how we're setting up the community of practice affinity groups, we will be setting up groups like you see here, just about, we're trying to get it where your interests or your teaching content is represented, and so that you can be with a group of people who are all working in your same content and sharing ideas in that content. So this is the list that we're starting with to form these groups. Now, I want to introduce you to a really important group of people. That's the next slide. And these will be your network facilitators. And this is so exciting because these 24 people have come on board. They are from some of your colleagues. You'll recognize their names from Prince George's County. And then others are from the University of Maryland or Morgan State, and they're mostly grad students and in their master's and in the doctoral program. And these people actually went through some training. That we were supposed to be in small groups this evening. They went through training on Monday to help guide you with your discussions. After we hear a person speak to us and get like Ebony today, and give us so many ideas, then we will go into those expert groups, and this group of people will be leading you in conversation and helping you talk about what's going on in your classroom and helping you find solutions and innovations and really just get excited about teaching. Now, here's something that we all believe. We are all very hopeful, and I know you are too, that we will be back in the classroom. You will be back in the classroom. It'd be wonderful if we could say it would happen this semester, who knows? But by the fall, most probably you will be back in the classroom. But what we want to do in the long run, as we're talking about these activities, is think about how it's going to be when you get back in the classroom and you've got some of these wonderful skills that you have learned during the last, do you think it's going to be a year and a half? I don't know. I hope not, but it could be. But the year and a half or so that you've been teaching online remotely with in an emergency. Whereas now, when you go back in the fall, we hope, or earlier, which would even be better, how will you use some of those skills in your day-to-day teaching to really even make your teaching more innovative in your classroom? So that is really the long-term goal of what we will be talking about at these sessions. So we have a couple of things, and Iris, are you with me now? That we want to do. We're going to wrap up. I want to encourage those of you who have not signed up for working with us in the Remote Teaching Excellence, RTE program. We'd love to have you come on board, and I'm sure Kim and Monica can answer more of your questions about how that might happen when I turn it over to them in just a minute. And then Iris, do you have an exit ticket for people to fill out?
I do. Oh, Virginia just put in the exit ticket. If you would take a few minutes and respond to that. It is in the chat.
So now I'm going to turn it over to you can go ahead and work on the exit tickets while we're kind of wrapping up, because there's two other things that I want to do. I want to tell you that with these sessions, there will also be asynchronous assignments, and we'll start with those tonight, which will be explained to you in just a minute. And then we'll have some, I think you all have a longer follow-up meeting with Kim Robertson and Monica Jenkins that I think you all know very well, who have, we've been working together since October. This group of people that you have met between the evaluators and myself and Kim and Monica and Lisa and Iris, we've all been working together thinking about how we might best get you all oriented and really thinking about your teaching and maybe have that time to talk since you don't have time to meet in the hallways anymore. That's what we want to provide. So that's kind of what we've been working on, and that's why we have this RTE program. And I'm looking forward to working with you and hearing what you're learning. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to Kim and Monica, who will tell you about the next steps.
So thank you, ETLs and PDLTs, for being here again, our normal meeting. But we're super excited to have this experience with the University of Maryland and Morgan State University, as well as Ebony, Dr. Terrell Shockley. Ebony normally talks fast, always, right? But she was on hyperspeed tonight since she had a session to go to. So we're going to try to make some connections to some of the work that we've done in the past and kind of give you some focus about some things for this particular meeting that relates to everyone, regardless of whether you're moving forward with the remaining 5 sessions, but we hope you do. Iris has already put the link in chat, but I'm going to also share the link in just a moment with you so that now that you've seen what the meetings will be like, you might decide now that you want to continue with the experience. So again, we hope that you sign up. And then of course, we have some time just for our normal PGCPS updates and questions at the end. And we're super excited about your backward design projects. So Noreen is going to share some of the projects that you all did from the last meeting in the event that you have teachers who are struggling with some of the same challenges that we've identified. So first of all, we know that this year we've worked to help unpack PICRAT. We've worked to help unpack backward design and what that looks like and how do we approach it with planning. Ebony threw out a lot of information that she had in her brain in this moment, right? And she discussed cultural reflexive teaching. She talked about mirrors and windows, a lot of different things that we haven't talked about. So when you think about it and when you're planning, we know as teachers, we carefully plan, we carefully execute what we're trying to do, but sometimes even the best laid plans can have additional information that we can layer and add on to it. So there are 2 things from Ebony's presentation that we want you to focus on for this just first time. Feel free to research everything that she said if you choose, but we're going to extract just 2 pieces that we want you to focus on that she mentioned today. Some of the things that she talked about were around using data, for example, and using data to inform your progress, which I know is something you normally do. So as you're planning, just have that in the back of your mind. But moving forward, what other strategies have you not thought about that you could? Is it culturally responsive teaching practices? For some of you, that might be something that you're constantly thinking about. As teachers, we always think about differentiating, but what does that really look like during remote instruction? How do we ensure that our students are receiving personalized instruction? So realistically, those are the 2 areas that we kind of want you to focus on moving forward. But think about this as kind of being strategic and rehabbing, we'll say, your lesson. If you remember before, we talked about in backwards design that you, excuse me, you might think about the house that you're building, but then you work backwards and think about the tools that you need to design that house. And you think about what your blueprint is to design that house. So now you have additional layers that you can add on to that as it relates to culturally responsive teaching practices, differentiation, as well as anything else that you might have heard that piqued your interest around Ebony's presentation. So we want to say a couple things. I'll share with you what your project is in just a minute. But after today, if you've seen, you know what, I signed up already. I know Clarissa sent me the link around Christmas. She sent it again after break. But now that I'm here, I really decided that I want to participate. The link to the interest form is bit.ly UMD PGCPS-interest form. Remember that bit.ly is case sensitive. We'll also drop it in the chat. I think Monica has done that. So it's reopened for today. So make a commitment today so we can make sure that you're assigned to the groups that meet your interest. I have compared and put up the dates again that Donna shared earlier. So over on the left-hand side, the remaining dates specifically for the program that was explained tonight are there for you on the left. The meetings will be from 4 to 5:30. And in addition to CEU credits for attending those sessions, as well as a certificate at the end, if you are stipend eligible, Prince George's County will pay you for those sessions that you attend. Okay, so keep that in mind. How will we know? We'll get Zoom reports to see who attended. Again, the evaluators, Virginia and Diane, talked about the fact that they aren't sharing your responses with us, but they will let us know who submitted the exit ticket, who submitted the long range assignment, because that's how we'll determine the payment, okay? Then I also want to remind you, just for ETLs and PDLTs, our remaining sessions, we kind of combined this regular session today and made it a UMD session as well, but moving forward, we still have those 2 additional PDLT ETL meetings, which are listed for you on the right. And our sessions, this one we changed to 4 to 5:30, 4 to 6. So moving forward, I believe we'll do 4 to 6 to give you time for questions as well. All right. So there you go. Now, your project. Here's more about your project. It is a Google form, and we want you to think about, again, differentiation and cultural responsive. Just think about which one you're more interested in kind of doing some more research about. We have a very brief chapter about culturally responsive teaching that you can read more about. And we have a quick video about differentiation, I believe from Carolyn Tomlinson, to give you more information about that. But we want you to kind of think about a previously taught lesson or a PD that you've delivered and reflect on the questions that you see below. So first of all, you're going to give us some information about that topic or the PD, either that you taught, just share that in a reflection, and it'll be in a Google form, so you'll be able to respond in that way. How did your lesson already reflect those 2 topics? Whichever one you picked, that's the one that you're talking about, right? Then you're going to talk about what are some successes and challenges you've had incorporating that selected topic, again, culturally responsive teaching or differentiated learning, specifically during online remote teaching. And then moving forward, what do you hope to do? What strategies do you hope to do to adjust and incorporate that topic into instruction? So again, for payment for us, this is everyone, regardless of whether you're participating in the UMD project or not, your assignment or your project for us is this assignment. So everyone will do the assignment. Like you normally come to our session and you do the assignment, this is the same assignment. It was developed by RTE, yes, but it is the same assignment regardless of whether you're moving forward with the remaining 5 sessions, all right? We're going to get to the first 2 PDs and whether you would pay for those in just a second when we wrap up our session. So I did a bit.ly ETL PDLT due February 5, Feb 5, but this long-term assignment, I believe, is also linked to your agenda. So you see it there. It just looks like a form, okay? I'm pausing now to see if there are questions about the assignment.
My question would just be, I see that the bit.ly takes me to the same UMD form. So is submitting it there?
Yes.
You need to submit it one time to that site, correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes. They will give us the data that we need.
Oh, hello, everyone. We're going to just discuss a few of the updates, and Noreen is also going to chime in with some more updates as well. But we wanted to start off with thank you for everyone that participated in the Techtivist in December. And we wanted to announce our winners, Christina Harder and Jennifer Silverman from Deerfield Run Elementary School. So congrats to them. And they will be receiving a signed copy of the Google Infused Classroom from Tanya Everett, as well as a special PD opportunity from her as well. And we spoke to Tanya yesterday, and she was very excited about working with the teachers. So that's an awesome opportunity for our Techtivist winners. So congratulations to Deerfield. And then also Digital Learning Day is coming up. It's February 25th. And typically what we have done for Digital Learning Day is we've asked teachers to share student created digital learning projects, the things that you're doing with your students every day. However, this year we're going to kind of shift our focus, and we're going to focus more on professional learning networks and building those professional learning networks for our teachers and staff. And how can we expand those PLCs? So look for some more information coming soon about how to participate and what's involved for Digital Learning Day this year.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So School Messenger resumed on February 5th, calling out the attendance. And so we're encouraging you to have your parents join the family portal so that they can get the messages concerning their students' attendance. Teacher trainings are going to go on most Mondays starting February 1st, March 1st, April 6th, and May 1st from 2 to 3 or 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. You have to have, 4:30 p.m., bad glasses. You have to have, as a teacher, that training to get an active account. So please encourage your teachers as well to sign up for that training so that they can have an active account in School Messenger. We're going to start level 1 and level 2 boot camp. So they're back. The spring boot camps are back. There are 4 live sessions as well as some self-paced courses. And that starts February the 18th through March 26th. So there's a link there for you to apply so that and you want to do it soon because those boot camps fill up very quickly. So if you don't have level 1 or level 2, please sign up for those boot camps. T3 training that's coming up. We have 2 next week. That's the Personalize Nearpod, which is on January 19th. That's Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we have Discover the Book Creator. And that's on that Wednesday, the 20th. Both of these applications have been purchased by the district. So we really encourage you to have your teachers sign up and take advantage of these classes so they can learn more about these apps. This is how to engage students. And she has set up a choice board where students can go in and choose the different activities they would like to do. So you'll look at, there's the challenge, how to engage students in learning. And then there's the strategies, or also how to assess students. From the engaging strategies, she has the tools, and then she's provided videos. So if you weren't familiar with a particular tool, you could click on that video and see how to use it in your classroom. And then from there, she goes into her choice board and has different activities for each of those choice boards for your students to create. So it's a good way to allow students the choice of using those tools that they should be familiar with and turning in their work. As you go along here, you see there's something on student time management. Here's your following directions. One thing I want to mention is that if you decide to use any of these projects, you want to make sure that you, when you copy it, you want to attribute the information to the original author. Also, for those that have attended the October 28th training and completed their project, payment has been submitted for into payroll, and that should be posted in the February 5th pay period. So I just want to bring that up. So again, make sure you identify who the author is if you decide to copy or use any of this work. And then for those of you that turned it in, your payment has been submitted. This next one we're going to take a look at is improving writing communication. And this was submitted by Bianca. And so on here, if you select the challenge, it's improved your student writing and communications. So as you can go through, there's the tech tool. If you click on the arrow, it'll take you to how to use that particular tool as you're looking at the hers. And then some considerations you can have for students to write on the discussion board and the collage. And then they could be exposed to college and career ready. And then she's attached the rationale for that as well. And then the last one, as you go through here, there's informal assessments. You can see the elementary templates. And I want to go to the high school template because the one submitted by William or Billy, Bill? I think this is one that we could all use in the new year. And this was the Healthy Habit Challenge. So on here, he has an example of how to complete the challenge. And then you can write down what that challenge is because it said if you do it for 30 days, it becomes a habit. And then he also has a rubric with this to help if you're using it with students to help with grading. But I thought this would be great for everybody to use because it also gives you some reflection about how well did you meet the goals of your habits? What were some of the challenges and what were some of the positives? So we're really pleased with those projects. Just make sure that you have handed those in and we'll open up for questions at this point.